recording, and I'll get my Kindle up. And we just started last week on this section to have, give all to all. And we'd read the first paragraph, but do we want to start again just because it's a new paragraph, new section, or do we want to start on number 2? Barry, you're muted. That's not like you.
Oh, there I am. Yeah, I think we should start at number 1.
Yeah. Did you want to read then?
Sure, I'll do it. Let me get my sound up. Okay. When your body and your ego and your dreams are gone, you will know that you will last forever. Perhaps you think this is accomplished through death, but nothing is accomplished through death because death is nothing. Everything is accomplished through life, and life is of the mind and in the mind. The body neither lives nor dies because it cannot contain you who are life. If we share the same mind, you can overcome death because I did. Death is an attempt to resolve conflict by not deciding at all. Like any other impossible solution the ego attempts, it will not work.
I just had a little vision then that like death is giving up. I don't really understand that yet, but that's kind of what came to my mind.
I love the fact that it negates the attachment to the body, to our identities, and to what our mind conceives through viewing through separation. I know for myself, when I sit back and I think about dying, because I do, and I always think that death is the way you die is the testament of how you've lived. And I keep thinking, how will I die? Will I, be alone? Will I be with friends? Will I be attached? Will I be completely unattached? Will I dance out of my body or claw at the sheets to stay in it? Hopefully I'm going to dance out of my body. But I just think that this so puts it into perspective when it says, because death is nothing. And everything is accomplished through life, and life is of the mind and in the mind, which means we're always in the mind of God. And then it goes on to say, if we share the same mind, you can overcome death because I did. I love that.
Forever and ever not being separated.
Mm.
When do we learn that? Do we really have to wait until death? No, we don't have to.
That's true. And, the thing that I know separates me is my judgment. I really do believe this. I think that we walk hand in hand into heaven with our brothers and sisters. We also walk hand in hand into hell with our brothers and sisters. So if we're judging and we're condemning and we're separating ourselves from others in that way, we'll have fear. We won't see through a connected mind, and we will most definitely feel like our egos has run amok. So I really do think that it is in the non-judgment of the world around us that we find our peace. What do you guys think?
So is this saying that the body is an illusion? The sentence that says the body neither lives nor dies because it cannot contain who you are, life. So
Well,
so therefore is this an illusion? Is the body an illusion?
the body is is the example of the greatest example of separation, because we actually think we are our bodies. So we're not our bodies. We're something far greater than our bodies. So yes, you can call it an illusion, but while we're here, it sure feels real. While we're associated to the body, it feels pretty real. But ultimately, at the end of the day, whatever's not eternal is an illusion. It is a dream. We're not our bodies. We're not our belief systems and what we made up about the world around us. And if I was to say I'm not my body's an illusion, and someone tries to kill me, I'm going to protect myself. So there's a part of me that doesn't believe it's an illusion at all, because we have this reptilian brain that'll click in, fight, flight, or freeze. And so for me to say the body's an absolute illusion is hard for me to say, because it doesn't feel like that. I don't feel congruent saying that, because I know that I believe otherwise right now. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, it is an illusion.
That seems to be what this is saying.
Yeah.
I kind of feel the body is also a messenger. It's telling us, part of one of the things we need to work on are often coming through from our bodies, especially with our health.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we need our bodies in this life.
I wonder
Right,
if also
because
if it's not just the end death of our body, if it's actually like we could have little deaths every day when we have an idea and then we kill that, or we a relationship that we decide not to have anymore, and the death of that is like an attempt to resolve conflict, what it says in there, by not deciding at all. So if you just decide, you're not going to contact someone anymore, then it's that death, but that's an illusion. Because I sort of think same with that walking into heaven with your brothers and sisters. I just think we can do that every day. We don't have to wait till our body's dead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's true. I mean, wouldn't it be awesome if we could just walk outside, go for a walk, be in a crowd of people, and just be in ecstasy, because we're focused on the experience of God being manifested in all these myriad forms around us. But it's the same essence that we are. So we're literally, perceptually, and in the greatest truth, one with God at that moment. Because we've chosen a mind of oneness to see that creative force in all living things. And if we can practice that, I can only do it minusculely, but if we can practice that and that practice becomes stronger, then we build the habit and the neurology to start choosing to see everything as a manifestation of God, even when people are acting badly. That's just a manifestation of God who has just gone to sleep a little deeper than maybe you did that day. But there is no condemnation, no judgment, none of that. If that didn't cross our minds, we would be in ecstasy all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a simple practice. And like I said, I can do it in a minuscule way periodically. So definitely do not have this one handled. But I know that that is a practice that leads to deep peace.
I've been finding I'm getting better at practicing when I've got judgment against someone to look inside and go, what am I judging within myself? And I'm getting better at it. And sometimes it takes a little while, but it definitely helps me to be more aligned and more loving, because whatever I'm seeing out there is a reflection of what I see of myself as well. So it teaches me to love myself better.
Yeah. I do think, you know, the course, when I used to read it, it seemed so convoluted so many times. I'm thinking what they're asking is impossible to do. But I'm not thinking as I've grown older that it's impossible to do anymore. I think it's doable.
Mm. Are you going to say
It's a
something, Kathleen?
Yeah, Jane.
I forgot what I was going to say, but I have a new thought now after this conversation. So I love the Course in Miracles, but it's certainly it's not easy to comprehend. If everything is an illusion except for God, and we are God, and we're all one, does that mean that we have no responsibility to help others in this human body here on earth, this human experience? So
That,
if there's harm being done to animals, to people, you know, it's easy to apply this to a micro level, but when you're talking about a macro level, like what's going on right now with Palestine and Israel, you know, what's going on in Sudan, um do we not have an obligation to help, to do something?
Sure.
I would be happy to speak to that, but would anyone else like to speak to that first?
No, go for it, Gary.
That's a great question, Kathleen. And I'll just tell you from my my perspective, anyways, which of course is flawed for sure, is that yes, we have an obligation to help. We help the suffering just because we know that it's a dream, still in a separated state. People are suffering. I don't know of one mystic that has ever lived that has walked over people who are suffering and said it doesn't matter because they're one with God. At the end of the day, that is the truth. But in the moment, that person in their separated state is deeply suffering. So if you can relieve the suffering, if you can begin to start helping them heal or create relief, they have more of an opportunity to begin to start practicing their own spiritual practice, whatever that is. I was listening to a person talk the other day. His name was Ishwar Puri. He was the Indian gentleman when he was a teenager, helped bring the Dalai Lama over the Himalayas to India and to North India. And I met him before personally, and then I saw a video, a YouTube video with him speaking. And his whole premise was that we need to find a teacher, a pure enlightened master. There's always one on the planet at any given time. And he said, if we can't find that master, if it's not our time in this lifetime because of whatever, our evolution or it's not the right, master for us, then we continue evolving ourselves, doing great deeds, practicing whatever spiritual practice we feel inclined to practice, and reaching whatever state of enlightenment we can. And then eventually, there's a statement in the Indian tradition, when the disciple is ready, the guru appears. And I think it's the same with all of us, is that we have to do our best to lead as high of a spiritual life as we can, and that never would include not helping the suffering. That is just would be the antithesis. So we evolve ourselves through serving, I think, one another, who we can view it as serving God. And that is one way to grow our own sense of waking up. And in so, over time, because time ultimately is not real, but over time, we keep evolving ourselves and evolving ourselves and evolving ourselves until eventually we reach some state of enlightenment. That's the best that I can come up with. I mean, I can say other things like everybody's meeting out their karmic destiny. Where do souls go if they have to learn about war? They will go to some place like Palestine or the Sudan, or they will go to Ukraine and Russia. Where do souls go that have to learn about creating wealth? They'll go incarnate in New York, or they'll incarnate in Dubai. Where do souls go that have to learn about being a farmer or being a warrior? They will always be incarnating in different areas of the world where those conflicts or those opportunities exist. So I look at it from, do we require to give as much relief as we can? Yes. Do I have to judge and condemn everything that's happening in all parts of the world? I don't. And I don't believe it's wise to. At some level,
I can't
not
hear
pain,
anything.
suffering
Is it
doesn't
just
have to
me?
be stopped. Can you not hear, Carly?
Yeah.
I
I hear you.
couldn't hear. Oh, sorry.
I hear you just fine.
Okay. So it's important that we understand that there is this law of reciprocity. For every action, there's a like and equal reaction. And so through time, if we believe in reincarnation, which some do and some don't, but if we believe in reincarnation, then every action that we've ever performed in any form we've ever incarnated from the beginning of time till now is still playing itself out for how the world will receive and give back the energy we've put out. So there's a certain karmic destiny that we're all living through. And in India, they have a caste system, which I don't necessarily believe in, but they do. And it's based upon a principle of for every action, there's a like and equal reaction. People incarnate into a certain caste. That was something that they created, in past lives. And this is metering out in this lifetime. So you can look at it from lots of different angles. However, whatever angle you look at it from, there still is no rationalization for not helping people that are suffering. You help people that are suffering. And for every action, there's a like and equal reaction. Not that we help because we want a better reaction in the future for ourselves. We help because it is the right thing to do. But I have to look at the world not from, this is just random chaos, and why are those souls suffering in that part of the world? And why is it in my own backyard? It's not my karmic destiny in this lifetime to suffer through that. Doesn't mean it hasn't been, but I've never been violent once in my life. I've never hit anyone. I've never done anything like that. And what I know is that that's not in my DNA, that's not for me to experience in this lifetime. I've never stolen anything. I have this great repulsion to stealing. I must have been an incredible thief in one of my last lives, but I have a repulsion to it. So there's all these things we have to look at our life and say, why am I like the way I am? Why am I like this? And then why are the circumstances of my life like it is? I mean, because if we all look at our lives, we have these patterns that repeat itself that lead us to something that we're supposed to be doing. Like I went through all kinds of trauma, starting very young in diapers, all throughout my teenage years. And I have this career now that I help people resolve trauma. And I'm thinking, well, how weird is that? And the truth of it is, I think I was built to do this. I grew up with people who were very traumatized. I tried to help them. I couldn't. I spent my life trying to figure out accelerated ways to help people shift themselves. And it wasn't because I'm like the most compassionate person on the planet or even the sharpest knife in the drawer. It's because I was conditioned to do that. So I believe in this perfect plan that follows us along our life journey that shapes and forms us. This is why when I look around me, I think, oh, it's perfection. Pretty hard to look at Palestine and say that's perfection, but I have no idea what souls were destined to leave when they left, what souls had to die through the hatred of war that the Palestinians and the Israelis have for one another. I have no idea what those souls are teaching themselves through those experiences. And perhaps it's that to never judge another. I've had to suffer through this and never judge another, never do violence toward another. Maybe that is what those souls are supposed to be learning. And who am I to interrupt that process? But if the body is suffering, you step in and you do things, you help. And I think that if we start seeing the world as perfection, because everyone's living out this lifetime of cause and effect, this law of reciprocity. So when bad things come to me, I'm like, oh, okay. How can I walk through this with the greatest sense of perspective that this is perfect? And I,
sorry, Gary.
no, go for it. I
Sorry,
just keep
have you finished?
chattering. I'm sorry. Go.
I was just going to say, this reminds me of the story in answer to your question, Kathleen. Has anyone heard the story of the long spoons?
Never.
Yes.
The long spoons.
Yes.
No.
So it's very, I'll give you the condensed version, but so once there was a man granted the rare opportunity to visit both heaven and hell before deciding his ultimate fate. Accompanied by his guide, he first ventured into hell. There he saw a large room with a group of miserable, starving people seated around a bountiful feast. However, each person had extremely long spoons strapped to their arms, making it impossible to feed themselves. They could pick up the food, but the length of the spoon meant they couldn't bring it to their own mouths. And as a result, they were all starving from hunger. So next, the man went to heaven, and he was surprised to see a similar room with a similar feast and people with the same long spoons strapped to their arms. But there was a crucial difference. These people were well fed, happy, joyful. And instead of trying to feed themselves, they were using the long spoons to feed each other across the table. And then the guide explained, in hell, people are selfish and can't see past their own needs. They starve as a result. In heaven, people have learned to care for one another, and by doing so, they're nourished and content. So obviously the moral of the story, emphasizing the power of selflessness and community. And I think, I think that that's really it, that, that the oneness is in feeding others. We are feeding ourselves. And so when we're only thinking of feeding ourselves, that's where the disconnect happens.
You walk heaven into heaven with your brothers and sisters hand in hand.
Right. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great example, Tanea.
Yeah.
I love
well-
that. I've never heard that before. That was really, I'm taking that one.
It's
I'm-
beautiful.
Right. I know. It's such a good story.
I am taking
Yes.
that one.
It says it all. And when you think about like all of the years of the great minds, saying things like know yourself, and to me, or know thyself, to me, it's like when you know what lane you're supposed to be in, therein lies your gifts, your perfection, your love, and then you can overcome your humanness because you've perfected yourself. You've stayed where you should be, and you've flourished. And that's all you have to know in life. I think all of us is, where are you, where should you be planted? And what should this all look like? And we look outside ourselves for the answers when the answers dwell within. And yeah, so
And Jane,
amen.
I think that there's another dimension to that as well, which is
Mhm.
you follow the circumstances that naturally open like a door will open. And when you
Right.
have enough trust and faith and you follow those circumstances, the circumstantial rollout of our lives is really how God talks. That's how God leads.
Yes.
Close one
Yes.
door, opens another. We may whine and cry at that door that's closed without looking for the door that's open, but once that door opens, it is the natural progression to step through it. So when we stop resisting the natural changes that come around us, I think that's when we get more peace with following the direction that God's laid out for us, our karma's laid out for us. So yes, it's
Absolutely.
about the service,
I don't,
but it's also about the circumstances.
right, right, right. Hmm.
Thanks everyone for that share. And tonight that was beautiful. I love that.
It kind of fits with the actual topic as well at the top, to have, give all to all. It's perfect.
Mhm.
Absolutely right. That does. So
Yeah.
cool. Who'd like to read the next one?
If no one's putting their hand up, I'll do that one. Number 2. God did not make the body because it is destructible and therefore not of the kingdom. The body is the symbol of what you think you are. It is clearly a separation device and therefore does not exist. The Holy Spirit, as always, takes what you have made and translates it into a learning device. Again, as always, he reinterprets what the ego uses as an argument for separation into a demonstration against it. If the mind can heal the body, but the body cannot heal the mind, then the mind must be stronger than the body. Every miracle demonstrates this. It's a beautiful flow on what we were just talking about, really, isn't it?
Yep, it is. Does anyone have any questions about number 2? Or anything they'd like to add to it or question about it? Who'd like to read number 3?
Jane, I pick you.
I have said that the Holy Spirit is the motivation for miracles. He always tells you that only the mind is real, because only the mind can be shared. The body is separate and therefore cannot be part of you. To be of one mind is meaningful, but to be one body is meaningless. By the laws of mind, then the body is meaningless. Hmm.
I'm having a bit of trouble understanding this one. I mean, how is the body meaningless if you don't take care of your body? Is your body your temple? If you don't take care of your body, then how can you do what you're supposed to be doing?
I think what it's stating is that there is no separation in the truest sense of the word. So it's not that I don't think the body is meaningless, but in the context of it being a vehicle of separation, what it's saying is that the body is separate, therefore cannot be a part of you. He's talking about, or they're talking about, the mind and the spiritual aspects of ourselves. And again, reinstating that the body is not who we are. That's how I've taken it.
Hmm.
The rest
Right.
of the sentence is by the laws of the mind, then the body is meaningless. So I guess it's just pointing out how powerful our minds are.
Yeah.
And a lot of times too, like I just read number 3, sometimes our answers are lie in number 4, number 5,
Yeah.
is what we find.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
and sometimes we just grapple.
Scratch our heads. We'll tackle that next time.
Bang, bang, bang.
But you could also
Why
take
am
it
I
quite,
so dense? I don't like my humanness.
but if you look at it like this group of us here now, we can be of one mind, but we can't be of one body. We're all in different places.
But why
Yeah.
does it say in 2, God did not make the body because it is destructible and therefore not of the kingdom? So if God didn't make the body, then who made the body?
The
Or it
mind.
doesn't
Or mummy and daddy.
We're making our mind, we're making our bodies all the time with our thoughts, with our actions.
Yeah.
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 If you look at the really broad context, Kathleen, at least this is the best stab at it that I can do, is that if we go back to the law of reciprocity, we incarnated into a family system through the DNA of our mothers and our fathers. I've had regression work that I was in a park looking at my parents having sex in a park, and I looked through the trees and said, them, those are the ones. And my parents were quite frisky in their younger years. And I thought, wow, interesting, because I suffered a lot. And I looked at that as I grew older and thought, well, I know that was my truth for me, that I picked them. And then my life wasn't all that rosy. In the early years, it really was not. And so to think that we come into the world, that we come in and with a spiritual purpose to learn and absorb certain wisdoms that I couldn't have gotten if I was born to the Rockefeller family. I couldn't have gotten if I was born into Trump's family or some other wealthy person's family. I got it by being born into the family that I was born into. And so my body is made up of that karmic dust that I was born into their DNA. I would be wounded by them in a very specific way. I would overcome those wounds. And in that overcoming of it, I would grow in a certain level of wisdom and understanding. And suffering, unfortunately, is one of the greatest teachers that there is. So if you look at the whole entire expanse of it, why did I come through them out of all the quadrillion amounts of different DNA combinations I could have come through? I came through them, an ancestry of alcoholics and child molesters. Why them? And so we have to look at our lives and go, if there's order and purpose in the universe, which I totally believe that there is, then why did we come through the parents we came through that would wound us in the way that we got wounded? That we would spend our life overcoming those wounds and seeking for answers. There is a certain level of perfection in all of it. See, I don't think I made my body. Well, okay, I'm going to take that back. I don't think God made something imperfect. I think that my karmic destiny and the lessons that I have yet to learn created in the matrix of the synchronicity of life an opportunity for me to finally learn whatever lesson I'm learning here. And it was those two people that would be the vehicle that would be my teachers. And so when I look at my body, I think, okay, well, this is a reflection of them. I carry all my ancestors' memories in my DNA. I know that. And they were kind of a raunchy bunch. And I know in India, the master said to us once, When a soul reaches enlightenment, it brings 25 generations with it. 25. That's a lot of folk. And so maybe it's about also when we wake up, we heal our ancestral DNA. We heal those individuals that created this cascade of issues that we have been imprinted by growing up with our mothers and fathers.
Gary, I absolutely hear that. And furthering that, I would say, our greatest, talking about, you mentioned that that story about there being one guru on the planet at any one time. I think my own experience, my parents are my greatest gurus, and my daughter, they're the ones that challenge me the most. And I remember Ram Dass saying once, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your family. And and I think you just saying there that when we come into this awakening, we bring 25 generations with us. It makes a lot of sense that when we can spend a week with our family in the face of all of their imperfections and flaws, and really come into a sort of radical acceptance of that, then that is the awakening within itself, I think. And that's when we can help to heal our family at the same time. But when we sort of reject that, then that's what causes the separation there. And yeah, it just keeps coming back to this sort of unconditional regard, and this acceptance of not resisting that which is, and the resistance that happens to things happens in our mind. And so the body is really the expression of the unconscious mind. And so if our mind is flawed, then it really, our body follows. And that's when all the disease and everything starts happening in the body. So yeah, it keeps coming back to that one lesson, that the healing happens in the mind, and the healing is really love and union. So piercing through the veil of that illusion that there's a separateness between us.
Yeah. I have this theory that when we are hating on our parents, we are feeling massive resentment towards them, and we live in that, we are actually vibratorily attacking our DNA. And in epigenetics, because our genes are floating in infinite amount of water, 72% or 75% of our bodies is water. Our thoughts are electrical charges that conduct in the water, which turns on or turns off different strands of DNA. And different strands for disease will be turned on by the constant thought and vibration of dislike, hatred, resentment, and fear. And when we do that towards our parents, it's affecting the strands of DNA that is theirs, that they gave us, that we inherited from them. So if that's not an attack on the body, I don't know what is. And so I think a lot of people, I've never really said that too much out publicly, but I really do think that a lot of the diseases come from an unhealed perspective and prolonged emotional states of resentment, anger, and hatred towards our ancestors.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And when we make
Yeah.
peace with it, then the ramifications of what that has done to our body begins to heal. The mind and the heart heals the body.
Right.
So I agree with all of this. And my taking is, in a nutshell, that our parents, so our soul chose what parents to incarnate into, and our parents created our body. Our ancestors created our body. God did not create our body. Right? Our parents' DNA created our
Mhm.
body.
Mhm.
That's
But
my
God,
sense.
I'm just going to say God in its in his or her infinite love gives us what we want.
It only says
And
yes.
it only says yes.
Right.
And there's, yeah.
Okay.
This is why, our desires, as Buddha said, you go where your desires are. We always will go to where our desires are. This is why, and our attachments. So this is why it's so important to train ourselves, because it doesn't happen, all at once. It happens collectively through practice. The last frame on the screen of our mind that will play of the movie of our life at the time of our death, the last frame designates what we have been most attached to in this lifetime. And that last frame designates where we go next for our next evolutionary step. So if we attach ourselves to the idea and the concept of oneness with God, of all creation being the same, of being protective of all things, then what happens is that we will be attached to that love and that practice of choosing to see union rather than separation, choosing to experience love for God in all its myriad forms rather than fear, separation, ego, and judgment. And I think those two roads go to very different destinations.
Mm-hmm.
This is why our little practice that we do in the Course in Miracles, where we pick a phrase and we go, okay, I'm going to practice that phrase all week, is super important, because what we're doing is we're practicing to see oneness and train our minds to see oneness rather than separation and fear. Okay, I'll shut up.
You just reminded me that we didn't do our wins actually, Gary. So we might do that
I
at the
know.
end.
No, we were too anxious to spring right into
Yes.
action here.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Yeah.
feel chatty tonight, but I just feel super chatty tonight.
It's good. It's all good.
No.
Who wants to read number 4? We'll just squeeze that in.
I can read number 4.
Go for it.
To the Holy Spirit, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. This is familiar enough to you by now, but it has not yet become believable. Therefore, you do not understand it and cannot use it. We have too much to accomplish on behalf of the kingdom to let this crucial concept slip away. It is a real foundation stone for the thought system. For the thought system I teach and I want you to teach. You cannot perform miracles without believing in it, because it is a belief in perfect equality. Only one equal gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation. Nothing more and nothing less. Without a range, order of difficulty is meaningless, and there must be no range in what you offer to your brother.
I love this.
Yeah.
Especially the piece with miracles, equality, and appreciation. like those 3 words, and that, it's only one equal gift can be offered to the equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation. Nothing more, nothing less.
Mm.
And I had that occur this week with the genetics, like you've all been sharing with Dad. Mum passed last year, and this week I was reflecting with what do I need to fix or don't fix? I don't need to heal or protect God, was my statement from last week. And there's nothing to defend on behalf of God. And so I went dancing with Dad. And even though he's been grieving Mum passing at the end of last year, all I saw was his soul's perfection. Like, I'm dancing with him and he's doing a style I've not learned. And I just totally had no mind. I just was there in full presence and just trusted whatever he threw me into. I followed, even though I didn't know any of it. I never even had one thought that I don't know this. And basically, I saw his joy amplify. And within 2 days of seeing him again, 2 days later, he was in so much presence and joy of divine, like his soul was pouring out of his eyes and his face as he met a friend he hadn't seen since the funeral and shook their hand. And I became the witness. And I no longer saw him as an identity as a father. I saw him as a soul identity. He no longer needed to be my father. I had taken full responsibility, and I had watched Mum blame him, judge him all her life for her victim relationship with him. But because she's passed, I looked at what I could heal for myself, of what part I had in that, and there was nothing left. I just saw his perfection, his soul. I didn't even need his father identity, like there was no wound in it.
It's beautiful.
And so I understand what you're saying, Gary, with that energy, because that judgment and the blame of the family DNA was being affected for all of those years in the energetic as well. And I got to see him in his pure soul essence and not anything else. Like, there was nothing else needed. The joy was incredible. Like, I can't express it any other way. And so it's linked to what we're sharing here. And just before I came on, I was late because Ian's having chemo right now and he's only got 2 cycles left. He's had no pain for 6 months, no nausea, no symptoms from his chemo whatsoever. And every fortnight I do a healing on him on his chemo day. So that's why I was late. And that healing has no need to fix anything. I just follow Holy Spirit's guidance. And today, of all days, I removed any blame.
Mm.
And when I did that, what I saw or felt was his energy field triple in amplification. He filled the whole lounge room. I had to go against the walls of the lounge room, basically one wall of the lounge room, as I'm doing this energy work on him, or just supporting him. I wasn't really doing a lot, just being fully guided. And he filled that whole room with his whole energetic field. And my tears flew because I knew that was a miracle.
Mm. And how lucky are we, Callie, that we get to experience this with you and hear this and get so inspired. It's so inspiring to hear what you're saying. Thank you for bringing this.
Yeah, thank you,
Yes,
Kelly.
that was beautiful. Thank you.
So I really appreciate, thank you, Jane, but I really appreciate, which is the key here in this passage, is a full appreciation. I appreciate what everyone brought today and my experiences this week just from our statement and the Holy Spirit guiding it all.
Mm.
So miracles can occur.
Yay.
It's awesome. Shall we read our chosen statement? Is it
Right.
Yeah,
time?
just explain to Kathleen. So Kathleen, based on what, are we working off of last week's? Or are we,
I think we'll have
or are
to
we,
leave that one behind, and I'll make a note
we'll
that we
leave that
start
behind?
with that
Okay.
before we start recording. Yeah.
So Kathleen, if there was something here today that inspired you, there was some words, then take those words, say what they are, and then we take that through the week with us, and we try to practice it. Yeah. Hmm.
Who would like to go first?
I do.
Okay.
My 6-foot long spoon.
Mm.
Love it.
I'm gonna stop sharing so I can see everybody. Mine kind of comes from Carly as well. I practice full appreciation. Nothing is more or less.
Mine is I walk hand in hand with my sisters and brothers. Remove the blame.
Hmm.
Mm.
Who's next?
I'll go ahead and read. Only one equal gift can be offered to equal sons of God, and that is full appreciation.
Yes.
Mine is
I love
there must be no range in what you offer to your brother.
Nice.
that was mine.
that yours?
I thought about going with the other one, and that was mine. Now I have to think of another one.
No, you can have
Oh,
the
you can claim that one too, Kathleen.
Yeah, make it yours.
Go ahead and read it out, Kathleen. It'll mean more to you when you put words to it.
There is, I remembered, I don't have it in front of me. There is no range for what I can offer to my brother. Was that it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
there must be no range in what you offer to your brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Linda, have you got something? Now we've got your face on.
In the words of God, yes.
Yes, exactly. Caroline, have we got yours?
No, mine is actually a thing that Gary said. See the world as perfection.
Mm.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to be saying that all week.
Carly, have you shared yours? Beautiful. All right, I'll make a note that before we start anything, we will touch base on how we've gone with our little saying for the week.
What was yours?
Mine, I practice full appreciation. Nothing is more or less.
Okay, beautiful.
Oh, puppy dog.
Oh, look at that Dalmatian.
That's orange.
He's beautiful, Tanaya. He's beautiful.
Say hello to everyone.
Oh,
Okay.
Dalmatian. Oh,
right.
I had a Dalmatian named Dad.
Well, we'll see
Nice.
you all next week then.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful.
Good.
Toodle pip.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Our statements this week. I always post them up on
Yes.
my computer, so I see them every single day. So
Yeah,
that's
good
to
idea.
remember.
Absolutely.
Do that.
Can't wait.
Thank you.
Mwah.
Bye.